Hey everybody, I'm Christina Previn and you're watching Wake Up Call Live. My guest today is Jennifer Roig-Francoli. Did I say that right?
You did. Congratulations.
So Jennifer is the creator of the Art of Freedom for Musicians, but she just has a big announcement today, right? Because when I posted everything, you were the creator of the Art of Freedom for Musicians, but now you're not limiting that just to musicians. So anybody who is interested in getting coaching from you, you're available. So coaching in what though? That's what we're going to talk about. So you teach the Alexander technique, and I have heard of the Alexander technique, but I have to admit that I don't exactly know what it is. So first of all, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Christina. I am so excited to be here. So yeah, and you are totally right. I teach the Art of Freedom, and I used to say for musicians, and I do specialize in helping musicians. I mean, I'm a violinist, as you can see over there. And so I've worked with musicians my entire life because I am one, but I'm also artistic in a lot of other ways. And so the Art of Freedom is really for creative people of all kinds. And so specializing in opening up to working with artists, people who just really want to get in touch with their creative spirit and bring that more into their lives, integrating different areas of their lives and living an inspired life. That's what I do is about. And then the Alexander technique. You're like, what's the Alexander technique?
I haven't heard of it, but I have to say, I don't know why it doesn't cross my path more often. Maybe I'm just not traveling in the right circles, but explain to me what that is.
So the Alexander technique originated in the late 19th century. Alexander was an actor he was born in Tasmania and moved to Australia and then to London. He was born in 1869. And so it originated in the acting world and then went out into the general public. But most of the people who've heard of the Alexander technique tend to be in the arts world. So musicians have all heard of it. It's required at places like Juilliard, the Guildhall School of Music, and big conservatories around the world tend to have Alexander technique classes. So that may be why you haven't come across it yet.
Okay, maybe that is why. But what exactly is it? What does it do for someone?
So I like to think of it as a mind-body discipline that helps you do whatever you want to do with more ease. So, people in the arts world have heard of it already, but it's really for anybody because it helps you get in touch with how you are naturally designed to function with your thinking and your body as one thing. So what you think is what you get, and you learn to think in ways that are conscious and constructive to get positive results in your body so that you can move and live and breathe and love and enjoy life with more ease, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Although I add on the spiritually because
I was starting to wonder if my description of the mind-body connection maybe wasn't correct, but it sounds like it is. Yeah. So I keep wondering why is this only within the artistic circles, basically because the person who invented it was someone who was artistic?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So is it applicable to other people, like somebody who might be in business? I'm just thinking that a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking to have a better mindset or looking to be innovative, which I think does require a certain level of creativity.
Absolutely.
Ways to do business better and more efficiently. Is this something that could help them?
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, I think what you're talking about is really top of mind for a lot of people these days. Like creativity is a thing. Now people are realizing, oh, we need to start doing things differently because the old ways just aren't working anymore. And everything is moving so quickly and we need to be able to think outside of the box. So what the Alexander technique can do for somebody is to help them recognize that the way they're thinking is keeping them in a box. So you start to recognize your habits, the way you habitually think, the way you habitually make decisions and choices. You start to notice your habits that were unconscious before. You start to recognize them so that you then have a choice to either think the old way and get the old results, or open up to allow creativity to flow into unexpected new solutions for things.
So let's do an easy example for you. Let's say you get someone who's a violinist like yourself.
Yeah.
What kind of problem would they come to you with?
Oh, lots of problems. So typically the people that work with me either have some sort of a physical pain or an emotional pain, like performance anxiety is a very common thing. And of course, that's not limited to just musicians. We all have some degree of performance anxiety in certain situations, right? And some people have that more than others. So like I said, a lot of my musicians who come to me have physical pain, like tendonitis, carpal tunnel, back pain, neck pain. These are all things that we assume are only physical problems, but they're never purely physical. So what I can help somebody do is recognize that the pain they're experiencing in the body is related to how they're thinking. And when you can kind of get to the root of how you're thinking and you shift that, very often the physical pain just starts to dissolve. It's actually really, really amazing. So the same goes with the performance anxiety. You just start to know what the triggers are, what's causing it, and then you have a solution for what you can do differently, and it just starts to dissolve.
So I'm thinking of people that might have fear of public speaking.
Yeah.
Which is similar to performance anxiety. So let's say I come to you and I tell you that, I'm a lawyer, I have to go to court, but I get really severe anxiety when I have to stand up in court and talk, and I think it's affecting me really putting my best foot forward. So what would you do with me? Like, what does that exercise look like?
Okay, well, so the first thing that I would do with you is something called EMA. And that's actually a primal Alexander etude. So Alexander technique, just as an aside, is usually taught hands-on, okay? But I'm fascinated on what's possible without the hands and just using this. So I use a system developed by Mia Morales called Primal Alexander, which is hands-free, which works great over the internet now during coronavirus. So the first exercise I teach people is called EMA, which means now in Japanese. So I would suggest to you, I would ask you, if you do a body scan right now, and anybody watching right now can just play along with this and ask yourself, what do I notice about myself right now? And then you might notice a tension, or you might notice comfort, but usually our attention is drawn to things that kind of hurt or niggle, or they're a little tight. And if you start thinking about going to court, and you start thinking about a really high pressure situation where you're on the spot, what happens to your body when you think about that? And then 9 times out of 10, that person will probably start saying, oh, well, I'm getting really tight here. It's like, oh, I can't breathe and my heart is racing and I get really... So it's even the thought of it before it happens that can be stressful. So we're actually dealing with how we're thinking about something. We're learning how the thought is related to the physical reaction. And then the next thing I teach my students is called TheCyCle, which is a 2-minute little exercise, little etude that we do. Call it etude, that's a study. So we do this thing called TheCyCle that helps you practice noticing what's going on inside of yourself, because most of us are really kind of disconnected from our experience in the moment. So we have to develop that capacity first. And then, of course, there are a lot of other exercise and like awareness etudes is what we call them. There are a lot that come after the cycle. So that's what I would do with somebody.
So you actually do this cycle every day at 11:30 a.m., right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least for now. Every day, I'm like, are we going to do this for forever? Or, but I do.
It's a big commitment though, right? Because once people start to like it and you get a following, then you're like, oh no, now I have to do it all the time.
I have to say I really love it. And so for now, I'm like, I'm not stopping. I really enjoy it. And people are coming and like regulars are showing up. And it's really good for me too. So, it's good.
I did advertise to our friends watching that we would do this exercise. But before we get into it, you had mentioned on one of the demonstrations that you did that it's not meditation exactly. So to me, it seemed meditative, but it's not meditation. So can you just explain that a little more?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I call it meditative because, meditation, that word is very broad, right?
Yeah.
There are so many ways to meditate and so many different traditions, styles of meditation. And so I don't usually call the cycle, which is this etude we're going to do, I don't usually call it meditation, although it is meditative because you're getting in touch with your present experience. And that's one way to define meditation, really. But what's different about the cycle from most kinds of meditation that I've come across is that you are consciously connecting a specific way of thinking with an experience of your body. It's like you're including awareness of your body, your internal experience, and an experience of your external environment. We do it with the eyes open, for instance. And so it's a very, very inclusive experience. And a lot of meditative practices don't include the body. And I don't know, it seems different. So you could call it meditation if you want to, but I usually think of it more as something that is meditative, but it's a specific framework for awareness. It's an awareness etude.
Yeah, awareness. I like that description. But this could be valuable for some people that maybe have a hard time meditating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of people find it difficult to just sit and do nothing. And so there is a very clear framework and a structure, and you're kind of harnessing your mind. You're getting control over your mind by doing something repetitive. I mean, you could say, well, it's like a mantra. Yes. But there is a specific meaning to the exact question that I give, which is a little different from a mantra. So there's a meaning. It's not just the repetition that's happening.
All right. Well, why don't we get into it? And maybe so it's called TheCyCle?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about what we're going to do, and then, you lead the way.
Yeah. So TheCyCle, and I just love that you're interested in this, Christina. I just have to say that. I really appreciate that. I have found, before I tell you exactly what it is and how we're going to do it, I just have to say that I'm continually amazed and kind of shocked at how people respond to this over time. And, I have a YouTube video about this, and I get emails from people I've never met that are suddenly out of pain just from watching my video. It's really, really remarkable things happen. That's not a promise. Not everybody would experience that, but people send me emails about all kinds of things that they're discovering about themselves that you would not think from a 2-minute little exercise. So you never know what's possible.
I think it's also you. I'm sure TheCyCle has something to do with it, but I also think it's you personally, because you have some sort of very calming quality about you.
Well, thank you.
I don't know what it is. It's hard for me to describe it. Well, first of all, you have a really soothing voice. You do.
I appreciate that. I used to have terrible performance anxiety with speaking, not as a violinist, but as a speaker.
Interesting.
It's like when I was a kid, I would never join the groups. My mom would have to make all my phone calls. As a teenager, I was terrified to speak with people. People would want to interview me, like newspapers and radio, because I was a very successful violinist. And I was terrified to do interviews. And so shy, you probably can't even believe it, because now I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'll talk to anybody. But it's thanks to the Alexander technique that I'm just free to express Now, through the
That's so
silence
cool.
speaking, very interesting what's possible. You never know.
Okay, well, let's do this.
All right, so let me get a sip of water here. I'm having some allergies, seasonal allergies.
Me too.
Okay, so the cycle is, as I said before, it's a primal Alexander etude created by Mio Morales, an Alexander teacher in Oregon. And the way we do this is we're going to cycle through all of our fingers one at a time. We're going to hold one finger at a time like this. We're going to start with the thumb. And so you're not squeezing or gripping or twisting. You're just gently just holding your thumb and then rest your arms, rest your hands so you don't have to work to hold them up. So it's all about doing less and less and less effort. So on each finger, I'm going to count to 4. When you do it by yourself, you count out loud as well. After each number, I'm going to ask a question, which is a kind of constructive thinking, we call it. And the question is very specific. So I tell people, write it down if you've never heard it before, because people tend to change the words without realizing it. And it's important not to change it to the word feel, for instance. So the question we're going to ask specifically is, where else do I seem a bit easy? Okay, so I'm going to ask that for us after each number on the first hand. And then I'll maybe do it a couple more times, and then I'll be quiet after the numbers so that you, whoever's watching, can fill in this question for themselves. You can do it mentally. We usually do it mentally. But if you're new to it and you want to, everybody here is new to it probably, you can do it out loud if you like. That's up to whoever wants to do it. So the words are important, but the magic of it is really in how you ask the question. It's just a question. You don't need an answer, right? So that's challenging sometimes because we are prepped and trained and educated to have an answer for every question. So this is really just practicing turning on our curiosity and wondering without the need for an answer. There's no need to feel anything. You're not trying to relax or find more ease in your body, but you're open to the possibility that ease might show up. That's it. Okay.
Thank you. That's a good.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. So shall we go ahead and do it?
Yeah. And one thing you said is that you keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Is there a reason they have to be open?
Yeah, and that's a great question. A lot of people ask me that. Yes, it's important to have the eyes open because we really want to get in touch with our inner experience, which is easy to do with eyes closed. But we also want to be open to the world around us. We want to be open to and responsive. It's like we're waking up somehow. We're learning how to integrate our mind and body in the context of wondering about ease. And you want to be able to do that when you're in court. You want to be able to do that when you are talking with your loved ones. It's not so easy to be present and noticing ease when you're in a stressful situation. If you're in the middle of an argument, for instance, right? So you're actually cultivating a skill to be present to your inner and outer experience as one unified whole. And having our eyes open helps us do that. It's very easy to kind of close down and go inward with your eyes closed, but then you're blocking out your life experience around you. So we're learning how to include everything. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does.
Do you have any other questions before?
Right. No, I'm good. I'm sure I'll have some when we're done.
Okay, great. All right, so this really only takes 2 to 3 minutes maximum, but sometimes it feels like time is standing still. And it's like slows everything down. So, all right, let's just go ahead and do it. We're holding the thumb softly. 1. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 2. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 3. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 4. Where else do I seem a bit easy? Then we move on to the index finger. 1. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 2. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 3. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 4. Where else do I seem a bit easy? Middle finger. 1. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 2. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 3. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 4. Where else do I seem a bit easy? Good. Moving on to the ring finger. 1. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 2. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 3. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 4. Where else do I seem a bit easy? Pinky. 1. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 2. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 3. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 4. Where else do I seem a bit easy? All right, let's do the second hand now. So you're holding your thumb. Now, I'll just give the question 1 or 2 more times, and then it's up to each of us to do the thinking on our own. So I'll just give the numbers. 1. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 2. Where else? 3. Where? 4. Good. Index finger. 1. Where else? 2. 3. 4. Middle finger. 1. 2. 3. 4. Ring finger. 1. Where else? 2. 3. 4. And last but not least, Pinky. 1. Where else do I seem a bit easy? 2. Where else? 3. 4. Good. So that's the cycle. And Christina, I am really curious about your experience of the cycle, if you want to share anything.
It feels very relaxing. I mean, it does feel meditative to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that you can actually get into a calm state actually so quickly.
Yeah. And even just with one question, I mean, you can do the whole cycle and you really get a lovely experience. Not everybody gets that the first time, though. I have to say, if anybody watching doesn't notice anything at all, it really, 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 truly doesn't matter. But I always suggest don't write it off if you don't notice anything. Try it like antibiotics twice a day for 5 days. And I promise, I guarantee you're going to get a positive experience after doing it twice a day consistently, the way I've taught you for 5 days. Like, guaranteed.
Well, I do have some experience meditating. Mm-hmm. My issue is as consistent as I would like to.
Yeah.
So it's when you first start meditating, especially if you feel like you have an unquiet mind, which might be the very reason that you've decided to meditate, it can be really challenging to try to just, not focus on anything in particular. But I think that's the whole idea of the practice is when your mind starts to wander, you bring it back.
Right, right.
So
and in this framework is a really easy way to do it because it's like you have an anchor here with your fingers, you're including your body, and it's a very simple, clear question with very carefully chosen words. Yeah.
But I do find it difficult not to try to answer the question.
I'm sure. Yeah, because like I said, we are trained to answer questions, right?
I mean, the point of it, though, isn't to answer the question. The point of it is to have the focus and the awareness, right?
Yeah, and yet I'll say that the answer is there. The answer is in your body. So your body may deliver an answer for you. So for instance, if I ask myself right now, where else do I seem a bit easy? As soon as I start thinking it, both of my feet just released a little bit. And I'm aware that my feet released a little bit. Okay, but not everybody's going to have
really your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I always feel my tension in my shoulders, which I don't realize actually that I'm doing that all the time until I'm in a situation like this where I'm paying more attention to relaxing my body.
So what happened to the shoulders after you did the cycle? Did you notice any change?
Yeah, they would drop a little bit, like not significantly, like probably nothing anybody else would notice, but you just kind of feel the muscles like relax a little bit.
Yeah. What I love about Yeah, I think tons of people carry, actually all of us, I have to say like 100% of people carry tension in the neck.
Yeah.
Now, different degrees of tension, of course, but you are definitely not alone there. And that's something Alexander discovered about how important the neck is to our whole experience. So what I love though, is that we're not trying to relax by doing the cycle. And you may notice tension before doing the cycle, but you're not trying to release your shoulders. You're not trying to relax your neck. You're not trying to relax a tight abdomen. And yet the indirect result is very often that those places where you tend to hold tension start to release themselves a little bit, just as like a positive side effect of doing the cycle.
So how do you recommend somebody do this? How many times? How often? Every day?
Yeah. I usually say, really think of it as like a medicine, like an antibiotic, a course of antibiotics that you would take for 5 days to start with. Take it in the morning and take it in the evening. And if you really want to find out what happens, it only takes 2 minutes in the morning, it takes 2 minutes in the evening, but you don't skip a dose of antibiotics, right? You just make a commitment. It's like your doctor says, take this, and you take it. So I'm saying,
you're supposed to take the whole bottle.
What's that? Sorry? What?
And you're supposed to take the whole bottle.
That's right. And if you forget a dose, you kind of have to start over, right?
Yeah, it's funny when the bottle says, don't stop taking this just because the symptoms go away.
Exactly. And in this case, sometimes people don't notice, well, with antibiotics too, sometimes you don't notice any change for a couple of days. But that doesn't mean it's not working under the surface. Yes. And I promise this works. It works under the surface. I've taught it to hundreds and hundreds of people. And I have literally not had one person respond negatively to TheCyCle. And on the contrary, I get dozens and dozens of emails from people I've never met or heard of, just because they've watched my YouTube, cycle video. They write to me. It's like, oh my gosh, my pain that I've had my whole life, my back pain is gone. Go figure.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm doing a full exercise. I really enjoyed it. I kind of feel like a VIP because I got to actually do it with you.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you so much for asking me to do this.
Well, thank you for saying yes. And I'm going to put a link to your YouTube page in the comments because you've mentioned it a few times. So I'd like people to have easy access to that. But if anybody's interested in talking to you more or potentially coaching with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
Well, there are two ways. There's my website, which is www.artoffreedom.me. That's .me. And then the place where I'm really active and I'm communicating with people all day long is my free Facebook group, which is called the Mind, Body, Spirit Tribe for Creative Souls. And that includes creative lawyers, corporate people, CEOs, artists, pianists, violinists, painters, writers, human beings who are creative.
If you're a human being, you're a candidate.
If you care about being creative, if you don't feel creative and you want to be creative, or if you're super creative and you are hitting writer's block, or that's what.
I want to say too that, and you can add to this, but creative isn't necessarily, painting or making music. I mean, there's so many different ways to be creative, because actually the reason I started my podcast and started doing these videos as sort of a side thing from my law firm is because I really felt this great need to do something creative. And I didn't feel like I was getting that from the law firm anymore. But I don't consider myself a traditional artist. I'm not going to pick up a paintbrush, but I feel like I am creating with the content that I'm producing. So I just wanted to put that out there. If you're not playing the violin, that's okay. You're still a candidate for this.
That's why I say it's for creative souls.
Yeah.
The thing is that we are all creative naturally. Think about yourself as a child, 3 years old. I mean, you were creative. There's no way you weren't. And then as we grow, we start to learn to kind of dampen the creativity. So my work is all about becoming like a little child again, but consciously, so that you can direct your natural creativity towards your goals. And the sky's the limit when you know how to harness that power.
Absolutely. So if you want to get your childlike use of your imagination back, this is a good way to start. And what is the name of the Facebook group again? The Mind, Body, Spirit
Tribe. It's my tribe. It's the Mind, Body, Spirit Tribe for Creative Souls.
Oh, Mind, Body, Spirit Tribe for. I'm putting it on here because I want to make sure that everybody can find this easily.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I just saw that I can put stuff into the links. So I can actually just give it to you right here. And there it is.
Excellent.
I don't know if you can do that, but there's the link.
Yeah, I'm new to this. I'm using StreamYard.com in case anybody's curious how I live stream. There's different forums out there. So But anyway, thank you so much. And I will be watching you because you, at least for now, you do these on your Facebook page every day at 11:30 a.m. So Eastern time. So if anybody is interested in doing this again and maybe you want a more regular practice, definitely tune into Jennifer's page. And for as long as she's doing it, hopefully it will be an extended time, at least during COVID.
I know. I'm sure I'm going to be doing it for a good while longer. It's good for me. It's good for everybody. So yeah. And remember, this is just the very first awareness etude. And there are tons of the ones that come after that that start to include simple movements so that you learn how to do what you're doing with ease.
Well, then let's talk privately about you coming on again to go to do another one.
That sounds like fun. I love that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Have a great day, and thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you.